I think that it's going to depend on us, right? On how we can optimize our workflows and understand and educate ourselves with how to use the AIs. Because if we don't, you're going to get people that are just you're gonna get a lot of idiots, man, around the world
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
just they're just using it. They don't understand the consequences behind it. It's like investing in crypto without understanding crypto.
yeah, yeah, right,
You can
right.
completely go bankrupt.
Hey everyone, welcome to Clutch Conversations, where we unpack real decisions business leaders face on a daily basis. I'm Tim Condon, the CRO at Clutch, and you can't go anywhere without hearing about the latest news regarding AI. At first, it seemed like everything you heard was full speed ahead on AI. At one point, Microsoft said something to the effect that all white-collar jobs could be raised in 18 months. However, we're seeing recently some examples of companies making AI missteps that make this a much more balanced conversation. And joining me here is Michael Georgiou, the co-founder of Imaginovation, and he's going to talk to us about the future of AI in the workplace. So, Michael, let's start by, why don't you just give me a little bit of your background and your sort of how you guys are using AI today, and then we're going to talk about some cool recent examples.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, no, thanks Tim and Clutch for having me on. Really appreciate the opportunity. It's good to talk with a partner. We work a lot with you guys, and you guys are awesome. So thanks for having me here. A little background about me. So, what you want me to talk about, like when I was born and all that? So I'm just kidding.
Maybe a little more recent. How about?
No, 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 of course. Yeah, I'll just kind of tell you just essentially for me, I oversee the internal marketing and sales, kind of the creative direction for Imaginovation. And it probably makes sense to tell you a little bit about what Imaginovation does. So we're basically a kind of a premium B2B technology service company where we build personalized custom applications, software, web, mobile, AI now, basically anything digital for other companies. Right now, we've gotten more specific with who we try to work with and all that type of stuff. We've tried to differentiate ourselves because there's a lot of those companies out there, but I feel like the best ones have survived through all of the just the economic conditions over the years and all that stuff and COVID. So we just hustled and took care of our customers and reinvested a lot back into the business.
All right. So first question here. I think I would characterize 2024 as the year everybody thought that AI was going to replace every job, right? And you heard companies talking about it. You heard companies
Mhm.
talking about how they've laid off a bunch of people and replaced. And but then you had these examples like Klarna, right? Who I think like they were one of the first ones that said we just killed our customer experience team. But now you're hearing companies are quietly rehiring again, right? Klarna is famous for saying they went too far. They hired back like 700 or 800 people after firing them all. So
Mm.
give me an idea of what's happening here, right? Is AI taking every job, are we going too far? What's going to happen? Is AI over? Are we just done with it?
I think, Tim, right now with where AI is, I kind of feel, man, it's like in a little bit of a testing phase. From my experience, it's like you're getting hit with all of this dopamine of like fun, cool, amazing tools. Oh, I can build my own stuff and I could save so much time and money and all this stuff, right? And then for other companies, let's just say I don't know who is a company that laid off like IBM, not calling them out and stuff like that, but it is what it is. They're big
Yep.
corporations, Cisco even, Oracle. They've laid off tens of thousands of people in a day, in a
Yep.
day.
Yep.
And because they've incorporated, all these AI tools and embedded them into their systems, into their organizations. And they basically want a higher profit margin. They want lower overhead, right? I mean, all of us do, of course, as business owners, but you know, there's you got to understand that you're dealing with people here. People have food to, they have to put food on their table for their kids, their families, like, you know what I mean? And I can understand it, but I think the way they've gone about it with some of these companies is really wrong. But I mean, I'm a small business owner.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's always been
Yeah.
happening, right?
Yeah.
It's whether it was the internet back in 2000, or it's AI or whatever it is. Just they're scaling up and down. But
Yeah.
I think, like I said, it's in this testing phase. And from what I'm seeing, it's like there's a lot of cool and amazing tools. Not all of them are good, that are launching now or that have launched. Obviously, these popular LLMs, right? The Anthropic, Claude, and OpenAI, and ChatGPT, and I mean, there's others now too as well. I think Perplexity as well.
Yeah.
I've used, and Gemini. So the thing is like even though there's a lot of cool tools out there, and some are good, some are not so good, I think people are still trying to understand how to use them and leverage them, at least on a B2B level, right? On a B2C, like just talking to a regular YouTuber that just teaches you how to, create your own workflow and stuff. I'm not really referring to that because that's all they're doing and they're selling that on YouTube, for example. But for the B2B world, a lot of companies really don't know how to leverage it in their organizations, especially the blue collar, older type of industries like construction, some manufacturing, and like logistics companies and all these transportation. From what I've seen, they're really, it's like they see the buzzword and all this coolness factor and sexy factor with it, but they don't they don't know how to use it and leverage it. So they need a lot of guidance. Um, so I can talk on this all day, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and do you think are you seeing with the clients you work with, are
Mhm.
you seeing any of well, I guess the question is which direction are you seeing? Are you seeing people say, okay, I'm gonna use this to become more efficient and let people go, or are they finding that they can use it to be more efficient, but that doesn't translate to fewer people? Is there sort of a direction you see that in either direction?
The way I'm seeing it, it's more of I want to use AI or incorporate it into our operations, our company, not really to get rid of people. At least the types of clients that we're dealing with, it's not, at least we're not hearing that. It's more like they want to create more value within their company, whether it's some product that they want to build that's going to help to generate more return on, more revenue, another income stream, or it could be just to fix their manual processes, right? And to automate them, digitize them, and just allow them and their team, their employees, to save time, money, and just make them more efficient, kind of holistically within the organization. But I would say, like from what I'm seeing as well on the other side of it, that I'm not experiencing too much with our clients is, yeah, there are a lot of companies that are reducing staff, because they're seeing something like, for example, like administrative skills, something that Claude might be able, you can automate through Claude or Cowork, right? And have it kind of, do a lot of things for you, which I'm sure you've done, and I do every day.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but on a kind of a corporate level, like some of these large companies, they're saying, hey, we have 3,000 admins. That's
Yeah.
going to save us this amount of money. We can use Cowork, for example, have only a couple managers that can do that. Let's get rid of them.
Yeah.
So I think that's also happening on a much larger scale, and it's
Yeah.
it's it's scary, man.
So the other big thing that I'm hearing a lot about is the sort of skyrocketing costs of tokens, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know, this is one story about Airbnbs, like one developer blew through their budget in like a week or something like that.
I heard
Um,
that.
yeah, do you find that your clients need like real hand holding on how to be efficient with their AI usage? Is that a problem that we're seeing, and do we think that's a fixable one, or is it just sort of like, oof, this is going to be this might actually not be a more efficient way to operate sometimes?
No, well, the answer is yes. I mean, that they are seeking a lot of guidance from us with kind of the AI tools that are being used within the applications we're building for them that obviously exhaust tokens, for example, so they do consider those costs because they are getting really expensive. Like we're using multiple here at the company, and you look at the bill. I mean, we manage it. Obviously, we get notifications and things like that, but sometimes you have so many of them that it can be unmanageable. So you have to be very careful. You have to have you got to manage your AI and make sure that you stay on top of it, kind of like a like an assistant, a subordinate,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? You can't just let AI run and do its thing once you think it's trained. That's the problem. And a lot of companies are making those mistakes where they just trust it too much. So we have a quote in the company that we call it trust but verify.
Mm.
So you got to, it's okay to trust it. That's the door opener, right? You want to give some trust to the tool, but to verify, you got to stay on top of it like a person.
Yeah.
Even if it gets so sophisticated and intelligent, yeah, I mean, who knows where this stuff's going to go, but I still think you're going to need that human ingenuity, that humanization, that kind of personal touch where AI can't replace. You got to make sure that you're using these tools in a way that's sustainable and manageable, because it is going to exhaust tokens,
Yeah.
and obviously stay within your budget, but you got to stay on top of it. On the
Yeah.
other hand, you know, you got to also understand that, like, I think these call it, yeah, these LLM companies, like OpenAI, Anthropic, for example, they're gonna have to adapt him to lower the fees, because companies like Clutch and Imaginovation, I mean, to spend $50,000 a month in
Yeah.
tokens or whatever, it's crazy. And I know it's all relative and all this stuff, but come
Yeah.
on, man. Like,
Yeah.
you're using these tools, you're giving them a lot of data. They have access to all this stuff. You and
Yeah.
I talked a little bit previously about it,
Yeah.
but I think you just gotta stay on top of them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
understand how to use them.
Yeah. Uh, do you see like right because OpenAI and Anthropic are not just going to they're not nonprofits, right? And
Yeah.
so they're not just going to voluntarily lower fees, right? So
No.
do you see a mechanism that's going to sort of incentivize them or force them to start to be more competitive with their fees, or are we just sort of like being going to be held hostage?
Personally, I think your first your first point, I think I don't think they're gonna hold us hostage. They could. I don't think so, because I'm already seeing some evolution with the way they're charging, where, for example, I mean, I'm getting a lot of like free, what do you call it? What's that new version of Claude that they launched, Fable, that
Oh,
when they
Fable
banned
5.
and then
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
and they're giving me like free access to it for a certain amount of
Yep.
time. Obviously, there's a limit and stuff, and I get it. They're trying to expose me to it because I'm not using it as much, and
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah.
super expensive,
Yeah.
right? But I think that it's gonna depend on us, right? On how we can optimize our workflows and understand and educate ourselves with how to use the AIs. Because if we don't, you're going to get people that are just you're gonna get a lot of idiots, man, around the
Yeah.
world that are
Yeah.
just they're just using it. They don't understand the consequences behind it. It's like investing in crypto without understanding crypto.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You can
Right.
completely go bankrupt.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very knowledgeable and get training however you want to. There's a lot of resources, or they can go to other companies, or there's always access to education with it, but you
Yeah.
have to try to understand how to use it. And a lot of us can teach ourselves, but it depends how much time you have to learn,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is, we're still in the early innings, and there's lots of companies who have not even really introduced AI into their business.
Hmm.
So as a leader, how would you advise a leader to, introduce AI into their company while not making the mistakes that others have made, right? How do you find that balance? Because you don't want to be so cautious that you miss out, right? And your competitors, beat you using AI, but at the same time, you can't bankrupt yourself either, right? So when you
Hmm.
when you work with companies, like, I don't know, do you advise them in a certain way on how to introduce this and make sure they get the upside without all the risks?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, for us, we don't really, we don't, as a service of ours, it's not like we have this kind of AI adoption service where we train their whole company. That
Right.
might be something we get into, but it's more about them understanding the tools that are, or the integrations, or just the LLMs in general. But I would say more on kind of touching on your question, like with AI adoption in general. A good example is what we've been doing in our company. We've kind of embedded it into our culture from top to bottom. It's not hierarchical, but in a way where we give all of our employees access to either OpenAI or Anthropic, whatever they want to use.
Yep.
And even some of them, even Google Gemini,
Hmm.
depending on their roles and responsibilities and all those, and the strengths and weaknesses of each
Yeah.
LLM. But essentially, the way we've done it is we did it slow. If you go too quickly, right? If you're trying to incorporate AI within your culture, within your team, your small team of 10 people, for example, if you go 100% all in, nope, you're going to have a lot of consequences
Yeah.
because it depends on the company and the education that they have with it. But I wouldn't recommend that. I would go step by step by step. Understand the layers of it. First of all, like understand the purpose and the why behind, the kind of the pain points and challenges of what it's going to solve. Why the heck do you want to include AI in some of your systems, your infrastructure,
Yeah.
your sales processes, your QA, all that stuff, right? Your product management. So you just got to do it step by step. Kind of create a process. Make sure that there's some maybe some expert guidance in a way. Because if everyone comes in with not knowing anything, and let's just say a CEO of a 100% company has no idea about AI, but he thinks, oh man, we have to do this or our company's going to die.
Yeah.
We can't
Yeah.
if we can't innovate, then we're done. So guys, here's access to all these LLMs. Use it how you will. Stay
Yeah.
under this budget. That's it. Like then it's a recipe for disaster
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
gonna have. I mean, you can have people leaking data. You
Yeah.
can have. There's a lot of consequences, man. I mean, and it's happened. It's happened with companies that I've seen, even on LinkedIn. Like a couple months ago, I saw this guy put a post, and he says, "Yeah, I just got laid off because the company I work for went out of business because all their data just got leaked." I'm
Oof.
like, oh, and so they trusted it to build their
Yeah.
systems too much.
Yeah.
They didn't manage it and oversee it.
Yeah.
It there was people issues in the company and the way they were handling it and managing it.
Yeah.
And that's a big issue.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like what you're saying is like it's probably no different than when somebody might bring you guys in to do to build software for something. Like the first question is like, what are you trying to accomplish, right? Why are you doing
Exactly.
this?
That's
Right? It
right.
can't just be like, we need software, we need
No.
AI. It's got to be like you got to be solving a real problem, right?
You got to be very intentional about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to be intentional because it's there's just too many repercussions and listen, playing around with it and learning it, reading about that, all that's good and but when you're talking about in the kind of in the actual operation side of your company, right? You gotta just create some sort of a ongoing kind of a like a living document, create a process, the why, the how, the where, the when, who we're gonna have that's gonna help guide us during this process. Or if it's that person creating the document, then then they can kind of start that process step by step. But you can't go from 0 to 100. Go to 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and just step by step and just do it with intention and purpose. And I think they're going to start to see a lot of value in the way they're using it because every company uses it so differently.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going to go into rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I got three of them. All right. First one, put costs aside. Uh, what everyday non-work task would you use AI to automate?
So what I do in my kind of my personal life is I've automated really the kind of the tasks at home that it recommends me based on what I'm teaching it. So it's learning, right? It's not just from scratch. That's one thing to understand. But basically, I have an LLM on my computer with security and permissions and all that type of stuff. It can't just go and do anything. I tell it what to do. But basically, it gives me like updates every day on things that maybe I want to focus on at home.
Oh, wow.
So, yep. And a lot of it's pretty scary how good
Yeah,
it is.
it
So,
really
for
is.
example, like for me and we have a 2-year-old son, me and my wife, and I've been teaching my AI, like giving it some context about me, my family, things like that. Nothing like too personal, but just saying, hey, my wife loves it when I handle and take the garbage out on Mondays, right before
Yeah.
the garbage guys come and pick it up. So it'll say, Mike, don't forget you're finishing work around 5:36. Take the garbage out. Make sure that it'll say like spend time with your son, which I know all that stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
it'll give me some more details in there. And I'm like,
Wow.
actually, I never thought, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I didn't think about that because I told you that last week.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it gives me those notifications and it'll help me and it'll even talk to me. I've set up an AI agent on my computer
yeah.
with certain permissions, and that's one little thing it does. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. Okay, second question. Roles that you think are safe from AI replacement 5 years from now.
I think anything that is physical where you like for example I used to get boxing training. I love boxing.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so I can have AI to tell me I can have my Claude tell me this or send me videos and all this training tutorials and all this stuff, but and that's cool, but it's not going to replace like
No.
my past coach,
Yeah,
Coach D,
yeah,
where
yeah,
he helped me and taught me how to make a how to actually hook properly and all those things, and
yeah,
how to train properly
yeah,
without killing yourself.
yeah.
So,
Probably
you know,
screams at you to get that last rep in, right?
yeah, yeah. And I think honestly on a little bit more of a higher level, like I think anything where it requires a lot of human ingenuity, even something being a little vulnerable here, like honestly, a lot of companies in our industry, like in software development, right? Where I've spoken to different competitors and things, I'm friends with many of them. And they've even said, man, I'm afraid of my business going, my company going out of business in a couple of years because
Yeah,
of AI. And we use it and it's awesome and all that. But man, what's gonna happen? And I was like, listen, I said, anything can happen, of course, but I think what's gonna happen is we just have to adapt, evolve, right? Because it's a tool. For it to go and say it's going to run everything where you won't have a business, I don't believe that will happen because they've said that during so many different periods of
yeah,
human evolution. I don't think so. There's too much human complexity involved where you need to guide businesses and people how to create the right products. Think about vibe coding, Tim, right? Like
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
startups are like, oh, I can vibe code it. But
yeah,
they're learning now. There's a lot of studies and statistics coming out where they can't vibe code actual large scalable products.
yeah,
It's very
yeah,
difficult.
yeah,
Even if it gets more sophisticated, you need human guidance. You need
yeah,
people who actually know how to do it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
That,
yeah,
who you need to hire and outsource to.
yeah.
So,
Cool. All right, so last one. Most underutilized feature of one or all of the AI tools.
oh man, I have a lot actually. Okay, so I would say what's been a game changer for us that from well, a lot of people don't even know this. I don't know how, but they have like AI Slack assistants. If
Mhm.
companies use, so this is a B2B thing, right? So a lot of them use Slack. I mean, I'd say most of them, right? You can get a Slack agent. Tim, I'm telling you, this thing it saved me so much time.
Yeah.
It creates our proposals for us,
Oh,
our
wow.
sales proposals.
Yeah.
We've created processes for it. The design looks amazing. It matches our branding. It's consistent with our brand personality, everything.
That's
It
great.
extracts the case studies that goes into each
Wow.
proposal. Like that used to take my team hours a week, hours. So
Yeah.
it saves my guy 5 to 7 hours a week when we're very, very busy.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a great one. All right, great one to end on. Michael Giorgio, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Where
buddy.
where can people find you?
Yeah, they can go to if they want to check out our company. It's imaginovation.net. Also, we actually launched a product. It's a gamified and simplified task management platform. It's
Okay.
actually incredibly unique.
Yeah.
It's for gamers, entrepreneurs, and small businesses that want to make kind of task management fun.
Yeah.
And it's called Magic Task. So you can go to magictask.io.
Nice.
We have over 7,000 users on it now.
Very cool.
And in terms of me personally, you can just check me out on my LinkedIn. Just type in Michael Giorgio, and you'll find this bald-headed guy works at Imaginovation. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. This is a great conversation as always. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. That's an honor. Thank you.